Hey everyone, welcome to the Kristof Lewis podcast, Create Your Career. This is Contemplation with Kristof, number 122, episode 287. Almost 300 episodes, pretty blown away, and I am always so appreciative that you're here. Thank you so much for coming. These are the Contemplation episodes. There are two segments within the podcast. There are the Contemplation episodes. This one, it's only me, and then there are the Conversations, the second segment, which it's me and a guest. Everything in the episodes are directed towards finding a career that you love, being happy in the moment, and showing you that your goals are indeed possible through hard work and while helping others. I just want to help you and encourage you, people all around the world, by giving you a real life example of somebody else. That's what these conversations are. Showing you that you can pursue a career that you love, you can give back to other people along the way, and that more than often we set our goals much too low, thus selling ourselves short. Now, that last bit there about selling ourselves short is kind of tied into what the topic of this exact episode is going to be. The episode, of course, is called, But What If I Succeed? Too many times I have sold myself short. It's almost a daily occurrence on some micro level, and then obviously on some macro levels that I'm going to get in here. I'm going to share some of my own life shortcomings because I was scared about what if I fail, because that's typically the first thought. It kind of coincides with my last contemplation about assuming good intention. Most of the thoughts that I typically have are just, wow, what if this goes wrong? So I want to build on that. I want to share some different examples, and I want to again ingrain or rewire your brain to think about, but what if I succeed? So the last episode was assuming good intention instead of assuming that the bad thing's going to happen. So now, instead of thinking about what if I fail and being obsessed with, if I fail, this is what's going to happen, rewiring your brain, or continuing to rewire your brain about asking yourself the question, but what if I succeed? Before we get into it, remember you can find this episode and all of the other conversations and contemplations on any podcast app. You can head over and rate on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. That would be really helpful. Subscribe on YouTube. Still trying to build that up. That would be awesome to hit 1K subscribers. Every sub helps. Head over to the podcast website at kristoflewis.com. and find me on Instagram at Kristof Lewis. This week's conversation was conversation number 165, the 165 guests I've had already. It's so cool, with Mike Frazier. Mike is a friend, Mike is a genuine person, and he used to be in the Army with the 160th Night Stalkers, which is the elite unit within the helicopter world within the military. I've worked with them in the past. They are the shit. They are incredible. A quick Google will tell you how awesome that is. Mike was a part of that. He continues to do helicopter stuff post-military, and we talked about so much. He shared so much. What a genuine guy. Awesome story. Highly recommend you check that out. As I mentioned in the beginning of the episode, today I'm going to speak with you about, but what if I succeed? So let's get into it. There's a long list of things that I waited absolutely way too long to do because I was scared that I'd fail. Just like the last episode again, I was assuming bad intentions on most things that I was doing as opposed to assuming good intentions. And what lives so closely to that is thinking about, oh, but what if I fail? I don't want to try these things. So the last episode was more about the mindset, and this is still the mindset, but this is more about actionable items, procrastination of life, in life, of things that you actually want to do. There's a few things here that I think I waited too long to do. And I'll start with, honestly, being who I always wanted to be, to just be a good freaking person and not be afraid to be who I really wanted to, outwardly to other people, to say what I want, how I feel, to not be afraid to stand up for me. I waited too long. I was scared that I'd fail as a person. I was scared I'd fail as a friend. I was afraid I'd fail in a relationship if I was genuinely me. And it is exposing of the things that I need to work on as an individual, as a friend, as a husband, as a father, because I've ripped the Band-Aid off and I've allowed myself to be that authentic self, which is kind of a common term now in the self-help realm, in the self-help world. The authentic self is somebody I do want to strive to be, if I could use that term. But if you're genuinely you, then you can figure out quicker what parts of genuinely you do you want to work on? But if you are consistently trying to be something else, something that you're not, because you think that that's what people think are cool, or that's what your wife or your girlfriend, your brother, whomever in your life wants you to be, then you're not really going to be able to identify quicker what you truly need to work on. So that was like number one for me. On a more career basis, I waited too long to get out of the Navy. Now, I was in a contract. I couldn't get out until a certain time, but I was very apprehensive about making the decision, and I waited a long time. Now, if you've listened to plenty of these episodes, you know that I started preparing at least 2 years out, but I prepared without truly knowing if that's what I wanted to do, but I was still preparing, which I think is a smart move, and I would recommend that. But I was so hesitant to pull the trigger to get out of the Navy because so many people in my life were telling me that I couldn't do it, and I shouldn't do it. I didn't have the schooling. I was a college dropout. You need to go back to school. You need to do these things. I just have to get a job these times. So I was afraid to fail getting out of the Navy. You're going to wind up on my ass. I had a wife at the time already, and I didn't want to fail her. I didn't want to fail myself. I didn't want to look like an idiot or feel like I looked like an idiot. And then when I got out, I did pull the trigger regardless of what the world around me did. So that was good. And then I got a job that I was more than thankful for, but it wasn't what I truly wanted to do. And I waited a long time to apply for a job that I thought I was more aligned to, what were my strengths more aligned to. And I finally have done that. I am doing something now that I do believe is much more aligned to what my strengths are and what I truly enjoy. And that's working with people, in short, without going into depth in that. More recently, buying a house. I waited a long time to buy a house, and I thought, like, or what if I fail? Like, how is that applicable there? What if I buy the house and I can't afford it? What if I buy a house and I lose my job and I can't pay for it and I look like a failure and I lose my house? And it's this catastrophic mindset thinking again. So those are just 4 examples in my life that I was always thinking about, but what if I fail? Now we want to switch that and we want to think about, but what if I succeed? This is a champion mindset. I truly believe this. And one of my favorite people, I post quotes a few times a week, and I always put somebody that is inspiring me behind that quote in these new quote videos that I've been creating on Instagram. If you haven't seen them, head over to Instagram at Kristof Lewis and check them out. I have a lot of fun. They're my personal quotes of how I feel about in life, and then I put somebody who inspires me behind that quote in this short 10-second video. And one of these quotes was with Jim Carrey in the background, and it was just what this episode is entitled, But What If I Succeed? Jim inspires me for a lot of reasons. I love his comedic work. His movies were something that I grew up watching. Absolutely love them. He made me laugh, and I can respect that, because that's a hard job to have, is to make somebody laugh, truly. Like, being a stand-up comedian, quick tangent, that's a hard-ass job. But why do I love this guy? Because and you've probably heard it. If you love listening to motivational, inspirational speeches on YouTube, you've probably heard this one. And I'm going to play the clip at the end of the episode. I'm going to end it on that. But Jim had the 2014 commencement speech at Maharishi University of Management. I probably butchered that, but you may be familiar with this speech. So what he talks about is his father was somebody that wanted to take a safe job. I believe he took it as an accountant, and he did not want to attempt to be anything else out of fear of losing that job. And why this is so, I think it's a cool story for many, many reasons, and you'll see when I play the clip at the end. But Jim Carrey is obviously a comedian, very, very successful comedian, and his father wanted to be a comedian, but he was too scared to pull the trigger on that because he was afraid that he was going to fail and not be able to support himself and his family. So he took that job, that quote-unquote safe job, as an accountant, but then time went on, and about the time when Jim was 12 years old, his father was let go from that supposedly safe job, and his family was in a very tough place. So this is a story that has been around for like 6 years now, as I recorded this in 2020. And it always hit me so hard. And I was listening to this as I was going through my own transition in the Navy and perpetually thinking, but what if I fail, not pulling the trigger? And this is a real thing. You probably feel like this in your own life. I've felt like this many times. Jim's father felt like this. But what happened differently was that Jim didn't do that. Jim is a successful comedian. He's a movie star, and he has been for decades now. and he's hilarious. And if you've watched his non-comedic performances or him speaking, like this speech that we'll listen to in a second, you'll see that he really has a good understanding of these things, of what it takes. And I don't know too much about his childhood, and that's really the extent of it, but he saw this failure in his father, and his father not being able to do something he truly loved, and it impacted him so greatly. And Jim took those chances. I took those chances getting out of the Navy. It was terrifying. I'm a college dropout. Nobody told me I was going to succeed, nor could they prove that I was going to succeed. Everybody told me that it wasn't a smart decision. A lot of people do get out and they don't have a good plan, but I made sure I had a good plan, and I made sure that I switched slowly. This is a lot of practice and it's taking years. I slowly switched the "but what if I fail" mindset to "what if I succeed." So think to yourself, with whatever you are doing, but what if I succeed? Remember, I'll go over my 4 examples. Being who I always wanted to be a good person. That was number 1. That was my honest to God. I was scared to fail at being myself. It might sound crazy, might sound cheesy, but I guarantee you one person listening to this is been afraid to fail at being themselves in front of other people. But what if I succeed at being myself and I gain the confidence to be who I always wanted to be? I wanted to get out of the Navy and I was scared at failing to get a job. How would I look to my peers and all the people that told me that I would fail in the Navy if I did get out of the Navy and I failed at my job because I just couldn't cut it? And then what if when I was finally at that job, go figure, that I failed to get another job that wasn't more truly aligned to what I wanted to do? I would look like an idiot. What if I bought that house, I lost my job, and I couldn't pay for my mortgage because of whatever reason? What if I fail and I can't do that? Reverse it right now. And I'm working on it every day, and it takes a while. It's taking years. I truly believe it is a rewiring of the brain. What if I be the person I always wanted to be and I gain more confidence than I ever thought before? What if I get out of the Navy and I get a job and I become that person that I always wanted to be and I prove everybody wrong? What if I have already gotten out of the Navy and I still am not truly happy and I know I can do more, but people say, well, you won't really find what you want. But what if I don't listen to them and I think about what if I succeed? What if I do find a job that is more tailored towards what I want to do? And lastly, what if I do buy a house and I do succeed and I buy the house I want with the family that I love and I can do it? So it's time for a recap. Today's recap will be brought to you by our friend Jim Carrey in his 2014 speech. Before I let that roll, thanks so much for your time. Remember, you can find me on Instagram at Kristof Lewis. Head over on iTunes and rate 5 stars. As you listen to this clip, remember, you can listen to all the best advice, the best podcasts, read all the best books, but if you don't apply it, it doesn't mean anything. So listen to this with a true open heart and be ready to execute as soon as this is done and change your mindset from "but what if I fail" to "but what if I succeed."
So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.